Hello everybody, it's John Frick again, and on behalf of the Somerdale Pensioners Association, I am just bringing you another small video. I hope you've all stayed safe and well during the period since we last met. The Pensioners Association have actually met those who can on video conference, and we did our second meeting last week, last Wednesday, and tried to start covering some of the business we got to cover for the association. But obviously that is quite small at the moment because we've got very little going on. With great sadness, we knew that Bob Williams and Keith Carter both passed away, and we had representatives from the Pensioners Association and the factory who attended both of those, as you were able to stand outside at Westerly for Bob Williams' funeral. And at Grimsby Park Cemetery, there was quite a number there, all safe distances at Keith Carter's funeral. And we wish to remember both the families as they go on through the next weeks and months, mourning their loved one. And we hope that as time goes on, memories from better things will come to the fore from their loved ones. Last week, if you follow the government, bubbles were introduced, and that was specifically for people who have been on their own. I guess people our age group, my age group and older, who've been isolated and perhaps got a bit lonely. And it was introduced that you could join up in a bubble with one other household. That meant that it wasn't very good if you're a grandparent, because you could only actually mix with one household. And obviously if you had two households or more that you'd like to see, grandchildren, that was going to limit you. But nevertheless, it did make it a little bit easier, that you would then become one big bubble. So basically, that anything that happened within that bubble now, that if anything went wrong, if anybody was ill, anybody got COVID-19, then everybody would have to be considered and dealt with in that way. And people in the household that you're meeting with would have to be very careful about what they did, because they wouldn't want to pass anything on to you. But it did mean you could actually hug and cuddle your children, your grandchildren, as part of that change. Tuesday the 23rd of June, which is today, just about, Boris Johnson set out his forthcoming changes to lockdown measures, which is easing the lockdown measures, though Boris did say that we need to proceed with caution. So everything that is done needs to be done with caution, and that is the important word, really. So already on the telly they're saying we now have a 1 metre safe distancing, but in actual fact, if you actually listen to what was said, it is still a 2 metre safe distancing rule that you must apply wherever possible. On the other hand, if there are mitigating circumstances, you can go down to the 1 metre plus rule, and that is really with safeguards in place. So if you're going to go and perhaps eat in a cafe, they could actually put screens up and make things possible that you could eat and safe distance within a metre. But COVID-19 measures should be put in place to allow you to do that. So you don't need to get complacent and think that everything now is a 1 metre rule, which is what is likely to happen. At the end of this, I will actually put in all the latest guidelines from the government. If you haven't already listened to them, you can read them and take your time over them, because when you hear them on telly, it all goes a bit quick. And then you hear things on the news which actually make things sound perhaps sometimes a little bit different than what they are. And you can read them in more than one way if you're not careful. But people should all stay 2 metres apart. Indoor venues, pubs, clubs. Pubs will be open. Clubs, nightclubs, and social clubs at the moment will stay closed. That means we still won't be able to meet up in the Somerdale Pavilion, but you will be able to go out for a meal, and you will be able to go to a pub. But even then, they have to make sure that the COVID-19 social distancing measures are in place, so you're not going to be at risk. There is still a big risk. If I was to put my spin on it, I would say there's still a big risk. The risk is still there. The virus is still there. They've not got any vaccines at the moment, or they're still working on them. And so anything you do, basically the cautious approach would be don't do anything different, much different than what you did before. If you're extremely a vulnerable person, you can now go out, but even then you want to do it with care, because you don't want to be finding yourself in a situation where you're mixing with people and you can't stay clear of any disease that is around. But nevertheless, you can go out to a restaurant and you can go to a pub if you really want to enjoy just a little bit of a meal, which I guess we're all looking forward to at the moment. But my spin on it, as I say, is I would proceed with caution. Don't mix where you don't need to mix. If you're enjoying life, enjoying the space and all the busyness gone out of your life, then carry on doing it, because it won't be here forever, and it won't be long before things, I guess, start getting back to some normality. Whether ever we go back to quite how we were before, I'm not quite sure. But what you want to do is take it extremely careful. And personally, I won't be mixing much more now than what I did before, because I think that's the way to go forward until they get the vaccines out. I would like to thank again Alan Haleman. Nicola Sauter, I think, has got to end of her magazine run in the last week or so, but done a really good job putting on all her dad's magazines. Thank you for that. And Rich Ryan has also been putting some things on for us. And we now have Dave Noble's quizzes. So Dave has been put on quizzes every week for the last couple of weeks, and puts the answers on. You write to him with your answers, and then he gives you the correct answers on Facebook a bit later if you're on Facebook. So all that has been good stuff to keep us busy. We're now going to enter a rather hot period where I think you'll be quite happy sitting in your gardens, but not for too long, because I think for a couple of days it's going to be hotter in England than it was in the Mediterranean, from what I heard on the news the other day. So we have got some nice weather, and it's a nice time to be actually trapped in. Even though you can go out, it's a nice time to stay in and not take too many risks at all. So I think that is most of the news we got. Part of what we covered the other day at the Pensioners Committee was to make a final decision on the reunion. And as you know, the reunion always takes place in September. And we have taken the decision at the moment. We're not going to say it's been cancelled. We are going to say it's been postponed. And if we can in any way reschedule it before the end of the year, we would like to do that. Even if it's December, even if it's quite late, if the opportunity arises and we can get together safely, we would do it. But at the moment, it takes quite a bit of organising. Andy Nichols got quite a bit of work to do, communicating everybody, getting it all back. We'd have to arrange everything with the club. I should say the pavilion now, not the club. They don't have been called the club, I don't think. And just the organisation of it at this stage, we think it would be just too much to organise for September. And although we've had some easing of the social distancing, I don't think we've had any easing of the social distance actually, but we've had some easing of the measures, I should say. And what was regulation is now becoming guidelines. I don't think any of that at the moment that says we can even think about having our reunion. So whilst that is very sad, and I'm sorry to have to say it, we have took the decision to postpone the annual reunion. So if you know anybody who might not be on Facebook or might not be on email that can, perhaps you will pass that message on. And as soon as we can, if it's at all possible, we will communicate again to say when it's been arranged, what date. And I'm sure at the moment the venue will still be the Somerdale Pavilion. So that's it from me. Take care of yourself and don't become complacent. I think all these measures and easing really are relying on people having a great deal of common sense. Sadly, some people haven't got that. You only got to read the comments that were on the bottom of Facebook when they were saying about the measures today. And people were saying they were going to ignore everything and just go out and have a party and mix with people and have people around. And my advice would be, don't do that. Keep your distance and stay safe. So from me and the committee, we wish you all well and God bless.